The Gospel according to St. Luke, the 12th chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said, I came to bring fire to the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled. I have a baptism with which to be baptized, and what stress I am under until it is completed. Do you think that I have come to bring peace to the earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. From now on, 5 in one household will be divided, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. They will be divided, father against son, and son against father, mother against daughter, and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. He also said to the crowds, when you see a cloud rising in the west, you immediately say it is going to rain, and so it happens. And when you see the south wind blowing, you say, there will be scorching heat, and it happens. You hypocrites! You know how to interpret the appearance of earth and sky, but why do you not know how to interpret the present time? This is the gospel of our Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
Please be seated. So how is your life of faith going? Good? Good? Okay. Some good, some so-so, some not so good. That is the life of faith, right? We have our ups and downs, for sure. So do you feel connected to God in a meaningful way, or do you feel disconnected? Do you feel strong in the Spirit, or weak in the knees? Well, throughout our lives, we're going to go through all of those things in our lives of faith. A while ago, as I was on vacation, I played a little bit of soccer in the morning, all by myself, which is hard to do. But I win, yeah. It was practice. I set up the cones, I dribbled the ball, I had a good old time for about an hour or so, and then it got hot. Cooled off in the nearby pool. Now I did that because I like playing soccer, at least I did as a kid, and I knew that I needed a little more exercise in my life. I'm getting a little older, right? And I remember as a kid running around doing all sorts of things, playing football and baseball and basketball and soccer and tennis, and just anything that was active. I really enjoyed all those things. And so I got up and played a little soccer. And I was proud of myself. I was proud that I got out and did something. I was proud I didn't overdo it. I was proud that, I at least got moving, right? A couple of days later, I sprained my ankle, doing nothing. And then I sprained my other ankle, doing nothing. I don't think that was a coincidence. I think it had something to do with my playing soccer a few days before. I am older now. Yes, my soccer playing days might be over. Now I just want to be able to walk. Doesn't even have to be fast. I can walk slow. I'm okay. Just be able to move, right? I think sometimes our spiritual lives can be a little like this. We want to feel closer to God. We want to grow closer to God. But we seem to have setbacks after setbacks after setbacks. Sometimes we are the ones causing the setbacks in our spiritual lives. We're not paying as much attention to God as we should. Sometimes life gets in the way and we mix up our priorities. We forget that God should come first, but everything else seems to take a higher priority. Sometimes health problems, disasters of other kinds tend to take over and send our minds and our bodies reeling. Sometimes other people send us down the wrong path. Sin, I think, are the temptations that sprain our ankles when we are trying to train our spiritual lives. They sideline us in this race that Hebrews says we are running. And you can't be on the sidelines in this race. We're in this race. Following Jesus means moving, means being engaged, means being involved in what Jesus is doing. The writer of Hebrews talks about our lives of faith as if that we are running this race and that we need perseverance. Now, I'm not sure if I can relate to the running part anymore. Fortunately, we don't have to worry about the running part. It's the perseverance that is critical in this race. It means it doesn't matter how fast you are. You can go really, really slow. In fact, you don't have to walk at all. The key part is to be engaged in what Jesus is doing. The difficulty of this race, though, is that it's very, very long. It goes our entire lives. And it keeps going. We've been doing that for ages. This race continues on. Even after we finish, it keeps going. And we're still involved. That's what Hebrews is talking about, this great cloud of witnesses that are watching us run this race. We don't want to flame out. We don't want to sprain our ankles. We need to keep moving, doing the things Jesus has us doing. We need to be engaged. Now, this is a different kind of race from the races that we're used to watching or being in. This is a race that sometimes we don't want to be in. Sometimes we're too tired. I don't want to be in a race. I don't want to be in. We're tired. We think we're going it alone. We don't think we can see the ending too clearly. These are the times we need each other in this race. We aren't in this race alone. In fact, you can't even run this race all by yourself. We need each other. And all that great cloud of witnesses that Hebrews talks about, they have passed the baton on to us. We are holding the baton. Really? We are running this race and holding the baton now. And we are going to pass it on to those who come after us, just like it was passed on to us. Now, last week, the chapter of Hebrews we started says that faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. We are called to persevere in following Jesus, even though it's difficult for us to see Jesus or God as we live our lives. The writer of Hebrews is trying to build up his community. They have gone through a lot in following Jesus, but he wants them to know that this is just the beginning, that Jesus is going to be with them through all the difficulties they have to go through, and that God has been with God's people from the very beginning and continues to be with his people. The writer of Hebrews begins chapter 11 with that verse, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. And then he begins laying out for them, point by point, everything that has happened throughout the ages. And it all has happened by faith. And every single time he says something that's happened in the past, the first thing he says is, by faith. I want you to say this. By faith. When I point to you, I want you to say, by faith.
By faith.
Okay, very good. As he begins, by faith, Abel offered to God a more acceptable sacrifice than Cain.
By faith.
Enoch was taken so that he did not experience death.
By faith.
Noah listened to God's warning and built an ark and saved his family and the world.
By faith.
Abraham obeyed when he was called to set out for a place that he was to receive.
By faith.
Abraham, when put to the test, offered up his son Isaac.
By faith.
Isaac invoked blessings for the future on Jacob and Esau.
By faith.
Jacob, when dying, blessed each of the sons of Joseph.
By faith.
Joseph, at the end of his life, made mention of the exodus of the Israelites and gave instructions about his burial.
By faith.
Moses was hidden by his parents, and they were not afraid.
By faith.
Moses refused to be called a son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to share ill treatment with the Israelites than to live like a king.
By faith.
Moses left Egypt unafraid of the king's anger.
By faith.
The people passed through the Red Sea.
By faith.
Rahab the prostitute did not perish.
By faith.
Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, David, Samuel, the prophets, and all those people who were killed and died horrible deaths that you just read about. All the faithful who have gone before us have done so
By faith.
by faith. It's always been about faith. Following God happens by faith. Faith that God's promises are true. Faith that what God tells us is going to happen. So true, in fact, that we know God's promises are true. They're true right now. But all of them have come true in Jesus' death on the cross. That, in fact, as we live with Jesus now, we actually are in heaven. We can experience that love and grace and mercy and peace that God provides. The reality is that we are being looked down upon by this great cloud of witnesses. And they are cheering us on as in a race. Right? Football started, right? Just began for those football people. It seems a little early, but you have to practice too, right? Never too early. Okay, someone's a football fan out there. They're out there, this great cloud of witnesses, cheering us on, telling us to keep going, persevere. It's worth it. God's promises are true. Our challenge then is to believe them, believe God, and continuing to walk by faith, trusting that God's promise of love and grace and mercy and peace in our lives is what this world is really all about. Despite all the other things that we see in this world and experience and the struggles we go through, God's promises are true and build us up even in the worst of times. May we follow Jesus by faith, knowing that that is how all the faithful have done it at the beginning of time and will the end of time. So we are also among that great cloud of witnesses looking down upon people